Big Ten Media Days coming up on Thursday and Friday this week. Steve, you've been there a few times, I think.
Yeah, 26 years maybe. I don't know. I'll have to spend a moment and count them up. But the first one I went to was in 1995. And I've been at every one they've ever had. Obviously, they didn't have one last year, so take that one out of the count. But yeah, it's been a good 2.5 decade run here, and looking forward to at least another 2.5 years, maybe. I don't know, but these things, used to be you would go and you'd write a story about the issues in college football. Are they going to have a playoff one day? And, are they going to pay the players one day? And, whatever else is out there. I can't even think what the big issues were back in the 1990s that troubled us so much. But, it was newspapers were a much bigger deal then. And all the newspapers would send somebody. And TV stations, radio stations. And then eventually it kind of transitioned over to websites. And that's kind of where we're at now, is the websites kind of dominate the coverage. When you talk about the Athletic nationally and with the team sites they've got, and all of us, the different team sites here in Columbus covering the Buckeyes and ESPN, CBS, and everybody else. And now you're down to maybe one newspaper, really the hometown paper that covers the team, or a major metropolitan daily that's near where the hometown team might be, like Indianapolis for Indiana or that type of thing. So really cut back, really cut down. The TV people, if they do come in, it's maybe in the morning and back out that night. And, it's kind of the way it's been whittled down here. It's not as big a deal perhaps as it used to be, but I'm sure we'll get some insights on what the 2021 season will look like, at least a little bit, as Ohio State chases an unprecedented 5th straight Big Ten championship here in 2021.
Folks, leave your comments, your questions, your debate topics in the live chat, although you're probably not going to respond to my plea. It's going to take Steve to get actually into the live chat to ask for questions before people will respond. Kevin, I'm guessing, I'm going to make a guess here, that you don't want Coach speak. We're going to hear Coach speak. We've got all the other conference media days going on, the SEC over the last couple of days, and 90-some% of it, whether it be the players or the coaches, is just a lot of Coach speak. You would like a little more flavor than that, but not necessarily the bombshell that dropped a couple of years ago surrounding Urban Meyer. Maybe you could do without that kind of story breaking this week.
Oh, I mean, don't we want to sell some subscriptions and move some papers and everything else? I mean, but no, it's going to be a lot of Coach speak for certain. I think that the 3 players that are going for Ohio State are probably getting their final deprogramming. I mean, instructions on what not to say and everything else, and we're going to get some pretty generic answers as to how these players think the upcoming season is going to look. But, it's just like the tradition of this going on for 20 some however many years for, these conference media days. It's a tradition that 99.9% of the quotes that are dropped are, we could probably predict before we even get to the event. So, it just kind of is what it is. And you just have to kind of go and have kind of a plan set up. And, I don't think any of us go there with the mindset of playing gotcha and trying to, trick anybody into saying anything. But, we certainly are there to tell stories. And, you're going to get exposed if you go in with so do you like playing football type of mentality in terms of the questions. It's going to take some digging. It's going to take some, it's going to take some crafting to come up with some stories. But I know everybody on this panel, this isn't their first rodeo or their 10th rodeo. And, we'll get some good content coming out of this. Are we going to ask them about who's going to be the starting quarterback? Well, I don't know if any of the 3 of us will. I certainly know of a peer that might be the guy to do that. But we'll figure it out, and we'll be there in case we have that kind of dust up like we had with Brett McMurphy and Urban Meyer a couple years ago. We'll be there to cover that as well.
Tony, Zach Harrison, Jeremy Ruckert, Thayer Munford, they're the three. What are you looking forward to most regarding Big Ten Media Days and trying to get from your stay in Indianapolis?
I always enjoy, first of all, I'm glad it's in Indianapolis because I much prefer that trip to a Chicago trip, which takes a little bit longer and it's much more congested. And I'm interested to see what it looks like this year because it's going to be taking place in Lucas Oil down on the field there. So, but I always enjoy it because you can just, now, granted, there's usually 25 people around Ryan Day and there's anywhere from like 5 to 20 people around the players, but you can get questions in. You can actually, this is going to be a first time talking to anybody in person. Gosh, since this March of 2020, I think, like actually talking to these guys in person. So that'll be good again. And you can go in with story ideas that will, I think in 2015, I went there with, Braxton Miller was moving to receiver. So I wanted to ask defenders from around the Big Ten about it. And the thing is, like, you'll talk to so many players that you may only get 3 good answers. You may get like 10 answers, but only 3 of them are good. So it provides you an opportunity to miss on answers and miss on questions because there's enough quantity to get the quality that you need. And anytime you can just sit and be with Ryan Day or any head coach for an hour and fire back and forth, and it's hard to get questions into Ryan Day because we're all there just firing off stuff. So it can be difficult, but over like the course of an hour, you should, 45 minutes or an hour, I forget which it is, you can generally get what you want in. So there's that opportunity. Plus you learn so much more about where the team is now in terms of just stuff we didn't know from the summer, like who, Ryan Day doesn't like to talk about necessarily who's stepping up, but when he does, it kind of lets you know that something is going on there. And, just, we haven't had information in a while. So this is also an opportunity to gain information and then, create content from that, which is something that we all need to do.
Sue's asking a question here that was brought up before we went on live in terms of the absence of Chris Olave at Media Days. Steve, you got anything on that?
I haven't heard anything definitive on why he isn't going. Could be an illness, could be a class conflict, could be anything. Maybe he's got a personal issue that just came up. You just don't know what it could be. You hope for the best and assume it's nothing dramatic. I think Jerry Emig, their sports information director, did seem to indicate it was nothing drastic or nothing major. So don't assume the worst, I guess, on it, and not really that big of a deal, I guess.